meeting to order of the Carson City Cultural Commission. And to start, we will have a roll call.
Chairperson Bigley.
Present.
Vice Chair McBride.
Present.
Commissioner Abad.
Present.
Commissioner Barton. Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Cook.
Here.
Commissioner Dineo.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Present.
A quorum's present.
We now have the opportunity for public comment. Anyone who wishes to address the commission and speak on matters related to the commission.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm Sharon Ross with Capital City Arts Initiative, and we are delighted to pass out our new flyer for our summer show at the courthouse. This opening is before your next meeting, so I'm sharing it with you now. It's Friday, June 3rd. We are showing a group show of 5 MFA candidates from Sierra Nevada College and the University in Reno, and Chris Wagner is writing the exhibition essay, and we're really excited about it. Also is our brand new membership form, which has a new form, and we're thrilled with it. Please feel free to pass it on to somebody that you know that might want to support CCAI. And this show's continuing. And any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Any other comments from the public?
Now can you hear me? Yeah. Oh, I hear myself. Cool. I am Doreen Mack, president of the Downtown 2020 group. I am requesting that we be put on the agenda for June 21st so that we can do a presentation for a downtown gateway arch that we are working with 2 artists in our group that will be working on this, and they will have a prototype that you can see at that meeting. I would like to introduce them to you now. This is Matt Schilling and Sam Flackus. Flackus? Flackus, go ahead.
I don't know.
Flackus, it's Polish.
Flackus. I've been saying it wrong this whole time. And I just want you to put a face to their names, and they will be doing the presentation on June 21st. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you all have any expectations for what you would be wanting to see whenever we bring our presentation as far as budgets or other than just a prototype of what, other than just an idea? Is there anything specific that you might be looking for that we can bring?
Well, we'd like to know the location that the art will be at, and the scope of the work, the size, the timetable, things like that.
Okay. Of course, I already had expected that, but I just wanted to make sure I had all my bases covered.
There are a lot of details in this that we will all discuss on how it's going to work and costs and all that. So that will be brought up, and we'll work on that at our presentation. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen.
You bet.
Any other comments from the public? Next is an action, possible action on reading of the minutes from our last meeting with corrections, last-minute corrections that we just received.
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Cultural Commission for Tuesday, March 15th, 2016, the revised copy that we received.
I have a couple of additions, changes. Okay, one was the commission members. Was Peter Barton a commission member in March? No. Okay, so we need to remove him off that. And then on page 6, item number 2, update on the Stewart Indian School Cultural Center. I announced the receipt of a grant, well, the proposal of a grant and the entity that we applied for money from is actually the Commission for Cultural Centers and Historic Preservation. I know that's a mouthful. It's not the Nevada Cultural Affairs Department. It's a standalone commission. So I just wanted to correct that for the record. But besides that, I would second.
I amend the motion to include Terry's corrections.
Is there any other discussion about the minutes? Then I will call the vote. All in favor of approval of the minutes?
Aye.
I abstain.
Excuse me, are you abstaining because you weren't here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, everyone has the agenda. Do we have any requests for any modifications of the agenda for changing the order of the items?
Not from staff.
Okay, not hearing any, we will proceed to item 3, meeting items. And 3A is Kyle Horvath's presentation about the Downtown Business Association's mural project.
All right, well, thank you for having me back. Kyle Horvath, representing the Downtown Business Association. It was probably 3 or 4 months ago when I was here last time, and we had talked about how the DBA had approved funds to create a mural on one of the walls owned by the city downtown. At that time, we had sent out a request for portfolios so that we could look at work from mural artists and see what they've done and kind of pick a style that we thought would be suitable and acceptable for the city. And so we got 5 proposals, and the one that the board chose based off of what they liked the most was Eric Burke, who has done work in Carson City before. He lives up in Reno, but he's very much a Northern Nevada local, even though his work spans into Europe, Central America, South America, and all across the United States. So the pictures that you have in your packet are, some of the ones that he sent in, but not limited to. He's done more than just 3 pieces of work, in his career. So Mike Riggs and myself, who president of the DBA, Mike Riggs, met with Eric and kind of went over, looked at the site. He was actually really impressed with the state of the wall. There was a little part that he said for aesthetics would be nice to fill in, so we're working on just making it nice and smooth, but he said the condition of the wall was great, and that would be very easy to work on because you wouldn't need scaffolding because it's the 6 foot tall, fixed 6 foot tall wall. So you can see he's done a lot of stuff, natural elements, and that's he's working on a couple different proposals right now, but we mentioned how much we really like the natural elements and how big of a part that is with Carson City. Just the wildlife and the surrounding mountains. And he even mentioned that the tree in the neighbor's yard would be a nice element to incorporate into the design so that when there's leaves on it, it would look a certain way, but then when they fell, it would also. So it was just really cool to stand back and listen to him brainstorm about, what he thought would work. I wish I had some of his ideas here to present today, but he is still working on them, and I look forward to getting those. The DBA's plan is to have him there during the June wine walk. So that June 4th is an absolutely enormous Saturday. You've got Farmers Market, Wine Walk, Rotary Brew Fest, and then you've got the opening night of the Levitt Amp concert series at the Brewery Arts Center with Mumbo Gumbo. So there's going to be a lot of people downtown, a lot of people in Carson City, and this mural, we want to be part of the action in the event that Saturday. And Eric absolutely loved the idea. So that's what our plans are. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, I was wondering if there's any consideration about extending the mural to the back of the bicycle shop?
So I did speak with the owner of the building at the bicycle shop, and he said that he was receptive to the idea of having it blend up. That would be up to, the artist to see if he would want to come up with something like that. But when we were brainstorming with him, we let him know there was the option of possibly a phase 2 of the piece as well, that could extend up. But we're just excited that, the cooperation and just how everything's gone working with the city and everything like that to get that wall so easily, we're excited to work on that. So, but the option is open to extend up onto the bike wall.
Good.
Question, is there a range, a financial range that you're looking at?
We set, the DBA set a max of $2,000 as a stipend. So, and then once the design is set, we're gonna have an idea of how much the paint's gonna cost. And then, so we're also gonna cover the expenses as well. So the stipend for the artist will be $2,000, and then we're gonna cover their expenses. That is to include the anti-graffiti coat so that it can be protected. He said with that, the vibrancy of the mural could last 10, 12 years. So
Nice.
before we even need to consider any kind of maintenance or anything.
Kyle, I suspect he won't be done in a day. Does he have any idea, like how will he be coming following weekends, or?
Yeah, the understanding was he was probably going to line it out prior to the wine walk and then get most of the color and stuff like that. Because that's really the most fun stuff to watch anyway, where things move the quickest. So yeah, and then what's not finished during the wine walk will be finished shortly thereafter.
I talked to Public Works, and I think they're going to patch that hole.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stan.
I'll follow up on that. And I talked to Curtis Horton also on Public Works, and he said that anti-graffiti works to a degree. It's not foolproof, so.
And Eric even mentioned that too.
Right.
He said a lot of the ones in Reno don't have it, but it's an added benefit. And if you do have to wipe the graffiti off, you do have to reapply the graffiti coat. But better safe than sorry, I feel like right now.
Are there any other questions from the commissioners or from the public? Comments? Thank you, Kyle.
All right, thank you.
I did, yes. Item 3B for possible action to prioritize and recommend to the Redevelopment Authority approval of the expenditure of $24,000. Actually, is that more now? No. For arts and culture special event funding from the Redevelopment Revolving Fund for fiscal year 2016-17. And we have 4 proposals, 3 that were in the original packet and 1 that was added today. And at this point, I am going to recuse myself because I'm an officer of the board of one of the applicants.
Thank you.
So Terry, you are now in charge.
Okay, so I guess the best way to go through these is as they were presented to us in our.
If I could, please. Let me kind of point out the late material that came in for everybody. As Lee Plemmel, and sometimes maybe it's just easier to read what Lee said here versus trying to paraphrase it. It gets me in less trouble that way. The community development, for the record, so that the people at home know what I'm talking about, as well as the commission and the people in the audience who may not have this packet. The Community Development Department received an application for redevelopment special event funding from the La Calibi, forgive me, powwow before the application deadline. pursuant to the Redevelopment Authority policies and procedures in section 3.21, which you have as a third page in. Which defines art and culture special events. Staff determined that the powwow did not fall under the arts and culture special event definition and directed the application to the Redevelopment Authority Citizens Committee. At their May 2nd meeting, the Redevelopment Authority Citizens Committee voted to deny any funding for the powwow from the regular special event funding allocation and determined that the event is an arts and culture event that should be reviewed by the Cultural Commission. Therefore, the application is being referred to the Cultural Commission for consideration with other arts and culture special event applications. The Cultural Commission may consider and make recommendations to the Redevelopment Authority regarding the powwow application, including recommendations on funding for the application and other recommendations regarding the categorization of the event to help the Redevelopment Authority and staff properly categorize future applications. Now, on the lower part of the application, that Lee provided, that Mr. Plemmel provided, matches or should match the format that I had in my staff report. So they should be reasonably identical. So, you know, they're as Commissioner McBride mentioned, there are 3 existing applicants that you received in your packet, and of course, we got this 4th one as late material. The 4 applicants are the Brewery Arts Center, the Capital City Arts Initiative, and the Mile High Jazz Band Association. And of course, we have the Powwow Committee. So that's what we have to talk about this evening. With this additional request, staff's recommendation is no longer valid, so you would then have to make your own recommendations based on the money available, which is the $24,000. Unfortunately, I wish that along with the application came additional money. It did not, so we ended up with, as through the way the money gets split, as identified by the Redevelopment Authority and the Board of Supervisors. Let me just make sure my numbers are correct. We do have $24,000 which we get to recommend to the board between the 4 different applicants. So let me just, if there's questions that we can ask here at staff level, I believe every applicant is out there ready to, yep, there's Gina. I was wondering where Gina was at. She's there. Hi, Gina. So everyone is here. The way we've set this up with the applicants is just a second, Stan. They will be able to come up here, give a 5 to 10 minute presentation to the commission on their event, and then the commission afterwards will then ask questions related to their event. So, yes, Mr. Jones.
I was just questioning here, do we make a recommendation to the Redevelopment Authority?
Yes. Well, it's the Redevelopment Authority. As the Redevelopment Authority, yes, sir. They wear multiple hats. Oh, yes, and maybe I should, as council has pointed out, let me again, for the record, identify some of the funding requests that we do have for these requests. The Brewery Arts Center is asking for $5,500. The Capital City Arts Initiative is asking for $6,000, and the Mile High Jazz Band is asking for $8,000. The powwow is asking for $21,300, but it is my, but in the funding request, it shows the 100% they're asking for. But I have been told that that's not, it's one of those things that they would be willing to take less, if I understand that, and the applicant can correct me if that's incorrect, but that's my understanding. That's the larger, I'm just probably should just get all of them up here before I start really falling all over myself here. So maybe we should do that, get the applicants up here now, but is there any concern about the process from the commission and where we're at related to that? Okay.
So I would just propose that we go in the order of the requests that we received in our packet. So Brewery Arts Center, number 1, and then Carson City Arts Initiative, number 2, Mile High Jazz Band Association, number 3, And then the Nevada Day Powwow Group, La Calebe Powwow, number 4. So we can begin with the Brewery Arts Center.
Hi, I'm Gina Hill with the Brewery Arts Center, and we have requested $5,500 for 8.6% of the total budget it takes to do our successful summer concert series. Last year, when we came to this board, you asked us to go out and find other monies to do what we needed to do. So the Brewery Arts Center applied for and received a national grant of $25,000 in order to do this series. And with that, we are bringing in regional acts like some Mungbo Gumbo, coming in as far as Nashville, South Carolina, and we expect to have, these are very, very conservative estimates, between 800 and 1,200 people at every show, bringing all that money to their downtown corridor. We have excited approval from all of our neighbors who are happy to have the concerts, knowing that they all begin at 7 o'clock and all the amplified music ends at 10 o'clock. And many partnerships as well. We're including a lot of nonprofits to be at these events, to be able to have direct contact with the public. Muscle Powered will be at 1, Cassie will be at 1, and several others, and we've got a great lineup. I don't know if it was included in your packet. Okay. But we have a very diverse offering, from everything from reggae to country to bluegrass to several Latin bands as well, Incendio, and the Jason McGuire trio known as El Rubio, which is flamenco guitar. So we have very specific goals that I have to find. The first is to create an atmosphere that engages the community by offering a wide variety of artists and musical genres, which I believe we have secured. Become a shining example of how collaborations with multiple nonprofit organizations can benefit the community as a whole. Our last concert on August 6th is also a concert to be held in the Jazz and Beyond Festival as well, so we're collaborating with that one, and that would be Sambada. And to give like-minded individuals a gathering place not only for arts and culture, but for growth and learning, and to give the entire community barrier-free opportunity to participate in the arts. The $25,000 that we received was from the Levitt Foundation, and their entire goal is to change the social fabric of the community through free music and free concerts, and they do incredible work, and we're able to go to them for their knowledge and expertise, having done this in the past. So we feel very strongly that this will be a successful concert series.
Gina, I just want to say thank you. That's wonderful that you are offering this, and I think kudos to the Brewery Arts Center for going after this. Thank you.
Thank you.
So will personnel from the Levitt Foundation be here to help?
They do come to one of the shows, and I got word today they're going to be at our June 2nd show, which is it's a double header that day. We have Sierra Sweethearts with Southwestern Pilgrimage, and Southwestern Pilgrimage actually has a song that you have all heard over and over again. They actually wrote and recorded and sold Grandma Got Ran Over by a Reindeer. Oh. They're a great show. Oh, it's fun.
So are there any other questions from the commission? I think we're all looking forward to it. So is it going to be every week? It's
going to be every week. It's 10 consecutive weeks, every Saturday beginning on June 4th, except for June 17th, because we moved it to the Friday night because of the Epic Rides event.
I just want to say, I think it's very impressive, and since Gina knows I've had some time with the Brewery Arts Center, I'm so impressed with what you all are doing and how you're moving forward, and you're a real asset to the community.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Okay, Capital City Arts Initiative.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Sharon Ross, Capital City Arts Initiative. I've been executive director with CCI. We're in our 13th season, closing our 13th season right now. During this time, we presented over 45 exhibitions around town by local, regional, and national artists, and presented 54 speakers in our Nevada Neighbors speaking series. Our program continues over 12 months. It's not just for a shorter amount of time. And we are delighted to work hard to enhance the city's cultural environment for all of the citizens. And we're very proud of the diversity and high quality visual arts that we present to town. We do have all of our events are in public buildings. We do not sell tickets for any of our events. It would be a little difficult to have a ticket person at the door of the Sierra Room. And we work hard to leverage additional funding from other private and public foundations. All the artists that we work with receive honorarium and travel support if necessary. We do not request, this request does not include any funds for fundraising. And the city's support is very vital to our budget and to leveraging grants from other funders. Do you have any questions?
Comment. I'm very much appreciative of the level of the art exhibits that you bring to this
thank you.
community. It's a real asset, so thank you for doing that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That means a lot. Thank you.
I have kind of a technical question, Sharon. I noticed in your in-kind donation that the space at the courthouse, for instance, is estimated to be worth about $400 a month.
I think a week. I think that was.
Oh.
And maybe it was the staff support a month.
Okay.
I have to
Well,
dig it
it's
out.
okay. I guess what I wanted to get at was, I know that it takes a lot of cajoling and cooperative work trying to secure exhibit space. So do you pay for any exhibit space?
No,
Or is
it's
of
all in
it
kind.
donated?
It's all in
Okay.
kind.
Okay. That's a lot of work, so thank you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate the partnership. I think it's a good public-private partnership, and we appreciate the walls. Thank you.
But I have a question. I was kind of confused. In that building, the courthouse building, are you paying some of the overhead costs of having the exhibits there?
No, that's all in kind. We don't pay the utilities or, no. We pay the artist honorarium, we produce the exhibitions.
But isn't there something that I saw in here, and now I'm not seeing it, about paying the security staff?
That's in kind.
It's all in kind?
That's all in kind.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, those gentlemen have to be there anyway.
Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking. You guys have got to be here. Why should you be paying for it?
Yeah, no, it's in kind.
It's in kind.
We benefit from them being there, but it's.
Sure.
So.
Okay.
Are there any other spaces that Capital City Arts Initiative is considering approaching?
Well, Nick Morano's talked to us about City Hall, and we've gone in and looked through there a couple of times, but, pardon? There's no, it's windows, there's no wall space. The only, behind the big lobby, there's a ante thing, but there's doors on either side. There's nobody in there. That I couldn't convince artists that it would be secure, and I'm not saying anybody would steal anything, but I would not sleep very well at night.
Sharon, what about the entrance to the community center in the lobby?
Well, Vernon,
Sculpture, something heavy that can't be packed out.
well, it's definitely a possibility. Vern and I met there and talked at length about it. It would need some retrofit in the building. And that's a big space that would call for a very big installation space, very big sculpture installation. We don't have that in our budget. Big spaces usually call for big budgets. So it's there, yeah. But I mean, you'd even need to do things like the black curtains with the sandbags at the bottom. Those would need to be fixed or yeah, something. But we truly appreciate all the support from the city, and they are wonderful partners, and we're very grateful.
Further comments, questions, commissioners? No? Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Okay, we'd like to hear from the Mile High Jazz Band Association next.
I think I turned it on. Okay. I'm David Bugley, and for full disclosure, I am married to the chairman who has recused herself at this moment. The Jazz and Beyond Festival, we are going into our 13th year, started in 2004. We started with an event on the 100th birthday of Count Basie, and it was just an excuse to have a little event. Actually, it started out with the idea of having one performance. We decided as long as we had the cooperation of the city in getting it a stage, we'd do 3 performances, and then before we actually got around to it, we ended up with, I think, 3 or 4 days, one weekend. And we got through that first weekend, and we said, okay, we're done. And then people said, you have to do it again. So we've been doing that, and as I say, this will now be our 13th year. It's kind of morphed from just a music event to a music and arts event, if you can, festival of all the different things. We have about 60 performances in a 17-day period. This will be August 5th through the 21st. We're going to end on Count Basie's 112th birthday, and we bring in some of the best jazz and other musical style artists in the area. And they come and we give them, they get paid, but none of the staff that develops this gets paid. We have a lot of volunteer work. So in terms of our cold cash payments, we're around $26,000. But you can say with donated services, we're probably doubling that in terms of the investment that goes into putting on this festival. We have, one of the things is we try to show off the downtown and different venues around town, making people aware of what we have. We have the wonderful Legislative Plaza where we do concerts. This year, we're working with the Parks Department, and we're going to do an event at Silver Saddle Ranch, and it's part of that is going to be the 20th anniversary of the Quality of Life Initiative. Thank you, Roger. And question 18, I believe it was. And we do this all for $381 a day over a 17-day period. I think it's this is in terms of what we're asking for from the city in terms of funding. Unlike CCAI, which loves walls, we really don't like walls so much because we want this to be open. We want people to kind of come by and say, here's some music happening out here in Carson City. This is a real happening place. And we'll be doing things on 3rd Street, and I think this year we'll get a chance to show off the new stage that's going up on 3rd Street for several days. We also we were approached by people at the Railroad Museum. They want to do some events there. We're going to be doing 2 Friday afternoons before we do some things elsewhere in the Friday night. So it's just kind of bring focus to all the different. It's not just one thing that we have in Carson City that we're trying to show off in one place. We're trying to show off the city as a whole as being a vibrant place. And if you ever pick up materials on some cities like San Francisco or Santa Fe, and you see that things are happening all over, we want to help create that vibe for the city. And I think you're trying to do that with the downtown redevelopment. As I said, we have some expenses. Occasionally we have to go out and rent stages and tents. The sun gets very hot sometimes. We have to shade people. We've gone after, we pay about 100 musicians something. It's not a lot, but we have more musicians wanting to appear with us than we can really schedule. We are getting additional funding from Nevada Commission on Tourism, the Nevada Arts Council, the Music Performance Trust Fund, and the Downtown Business Association. We do a lot of cooperative things where we pair with other groups. So, for example, the Wine Walk. We like to do things with, we've done things with them. We assisted last year when they had the state fair down at Fuji Park. We assisted in helping our people with our knowledge get some of the acts that were being used down there. We have a few events where we do charge. For example, the Speakeasy Dance Party, which I think is going to be, I would like to promote it. It's going to be August 13th. That's a special event. But there's a lot of effort that's going into that. And one person in particular is doing a lot of effort on it. The person we had doing it last year put a lot of effort into it too. And so as I said, it's a celebration of Carson City, and we just wanted to hopefully we'll get funding so we can do this without having to go into either a diet mode where we have to cut back on what we can offer. We still like to be able. We've been doing about 60 events featuring about 100 musicians each year. For the last few years, and we'd like to be able to continue doing that. It would be terrible if we had to go back, at least in my opinion. Any questions?
Hi, David.
Hi.
It is a wonderful event, and I just have a couple of questions. First of all, average of what you pay per musician, and secondly, how do you calc attendance?
Okay, the method for counting attendance, okay, I have this little clicker, and I will go through. So if it's a 2-hour event, I will go through about a third of the way into the event and go around and count the crowd. And usually, because I don't trust myself with numbers, I usually count it again. And I take the higher one, quite frankly. But in a lot of these things, for example, if you do something at the Legislative Plaza, it's sometimes hard to count, but I've been pretty good at it. I'm kind of tall enough that I can do that. Some events I'll ask if I can't attend personally, because sometimes we'll have something going on at the Carson Mall, for example, one of our partners, and we'll have something at another place. I'll ask somebody to make a determination of how many people were there about a third of the way into the event. That's usually one method. And we came up with a calculation, I think you have it in your materials, of we have about 4,000 people who showed up. And then we ran that through a little Americans for the Arts calculator to figure out what would be the economic impact. And if you don't mind my telling you on that, the total industrial impact of the event would be $114,000 for the economy. Some of it's going to musicians, but some of it's going to restaurants and other things like that. So we feel, it's a sizable chunk. Quite frankly, it is a sizable chunk of our budget. But I think it has a good multiplier.
I agree with that. My only question, what I'm getting at is, is some of the musician services in kind or all paid, and just verifying that information.
We try to pay the musicians. We really try to pay the musicians. I got a phone call this morning about somebody who wanted to perform. and was willing to do it for free or for tips. And we haven't made a decision on that. But generally, we pay, and I'm going to go to council on this. What's our price for?
Depends on the number of people in the band.
Yeah,
and the duration.
per person.
85 for a 2-hour gig.
Yeah, it's $85 for a 2-hour gig. I wasn't sure if it was per person. And then it also changes also if the group is too large, we're not going to be paying that amount. Yes, we make other arrangements too.
I appreciate it.
Question, I'm assuming that those add-ons are all members of the Musicians Union, or that it's all very...
Not necessarily, but we get a lot of cooperation from the Musicians Union. Matter of fact, one of the people who's been very much involved, John Shipley, he's done our lectures the last 3 years. He's going to be doing one this year. He's going to be a history lecture on jazz with a live group. He is the president of the Musicians Local.
Yeah.
It's his feeling that musicians should be paid, it's whether there's a member or not. I mean, the purpose of the Musicians Local, and I happen to be a member myself, is to ensure that the musicians are treated fairly, and we try to do things fairly, and we will not say, quote them one price and then offer less later on.
Local 6 San Francisco, so I understand.
Oh, you are, okay.
And I think about that. I think about that in terms of some are and some aren't, and what's fair and how does it work. Last year I asked a couple of questions, and I'm asking them, and I'm looking for some answers. Donor base. How many members in the donor base? How many members do you have?
I believe we have, if you consider couples and individuals members, I think we have, I'm going to say about 50. More than that. I'm being prompted to say more. Okay, because I don't handle a lot of the paperwork on this thing. Music, notes, things I can do.
Because for, this wonderful series, you want it to grow in terms of participation by the public and who is coming and how do we know that there's a return on that investment? And then I look at, how many of those folks are staying overnight that helps out the convention bureau? So how does it all come together to be a real addition, other than wonderful music, and of course musicians will play anytime, anywhere, but how are we growing?
We just try a lot of different things. I mean, it's there's no magic formula, and you take a look at major cultural institutions that are struggling. You take a look at symphony orchestras right now, and maybe the formula was working 40 years ago, and now it's not. And so we're still working on that. We try to sell ads. I'm getting prompted here. We have program ads. We have sponsors. We have donors for this specific event, and we have members of the association. Now, the Mile High Jazz Band Association, the original focus of that was the Mile High Jazz Band itself, which performs more than 12 or more times a year. And then we do events with the schools and things like that. And we're doing workshops with the kids, jazz camps and things like that. So this is only a fraction of what we do.
Okay, in terms of helping publicity and getting, your name out there and so on, do you ever bring on guest conductors or somebody well-known out there in the industry who could, again, spark some attendance numbers?
Well, like last year, we brought in Bill Watrous, and that's a main name, and in the especially among trombone players, and he did some, and we brought in a lot of people from that city to the north of us, Reno, Sparks. Yeah, Reno and Sparks, and places like that. And they came in, and we did a little workshop. Besides the concert he did, we did a workshop, and we had like 25 trombone players in there, just really enthused. So I think we're making a name for Carson City as a place where that you can get these cultural opportunities. In terms of going after name. name acts, that really gets expensive. It's really kind of out, it's to another level. And when we do that, we could run the risk of some financial problems, especially if you get an outdoor venue and you get rained out. We partnered years ago in a situation that we were trying to bring in some name artists, and it really just crushed our budget. Really just did that. So we're trying to keep it within, featuring a lot of this local talent. The casinos that we had here were dependent upon these talented musicians. You know, at one time there were like 6 or 7 casino bands that were playing six nights a week. And they were just going. Now, some of those musicians stay in the area, and some of them contribute to the quality of the musical life in the Reno, Sparks, Carson City area. And many of them are still here, and their influence is still here.
Barbara, I can see where you're, one option for bringing big acts that are expensive would be to charge for those and just have a couple. I know that you guys are trying all different ways to make this the best you possibly can, but that's maybe something to think about in the future and actually charge ticket price for that.
See, it's the value received, and if people have to pay something, then it's a value received back to them. And I just, I hear this repeatedly, this is free and that is free and this is free. Well, yeah, but, having to come back to the city, for funding, and you think, wait a minute, there are people out there who really should be paying for this. If you have a good theater production, charge for it. If you have whatever. People are used to that, and there really is no free lunch.
Yeah,
and so I worry about you because I think you should grow. I think it should be bigger. I think that it should be a huge asset in just this whole Carson area and beyond. And I just am struggling to try and figure out how can it become better, more profitable, and something that you really want to do and that folks want to attend.
I think one of the problems I have is how do you if you want to charge admission, how do you put a fence around it? And that's the little thing. I'm not, and I'm looking at Karen nodding her head.
Yeah.
Because you've brought in some events, and do you have to put a fence around it?
In answer, yes.
Yes.
And, but David, the one thing I would suggest so that you can grow, sponsors.
Yeah.
We try to get, we have a fellow who works with us and calls us all hours of the morning, and Ellie and I are not morning people, and says, I've got an idea about getting some sponsors. So we are trying to go after sponsors, but everybody's trying to go after sponsors.
And that's true. Yeah, it's hard. It is hard.
Yeah.
I get that.
I guess I'm really naive and just too bloody honest in this world, but to me, there is no free lunch. And if I'm going to go and sit down and listen to music, I expect to pay something. I'm not going to be saying, hey, I'm going to cheat and wander in the backyard. I just don't think that's fair or even a way that we ought to be behaving.
Well, Barbara, but then those groups that put on those events shouldn't be asking for city funds. So.
Well, we do things.
No, I get it.
We do pass the baskets, especially at the events at the Legislative Plaza where we've got the biggest crowds. And people have been generous. And we do have raffles and things like that. So kind of the gentle way of asking for admission. But, I don't know, maybe sometime we might want to consider stamping people's hands and say, you don't belong here because we didn't stamp your hand because we didn't pay. I don't know if you can do that with that in an open area, especially when we're using, some city facilities, like, well, this is a city park we're using, or the state park.
I just feel that you've earned it, you deserve it, and I think that there needs to be some way to encourage folks to be more open with their pennies.
Okay, well, we'll ask people, okay. Maybe I'll write a letter to the paper, if anybody reads the paper still, and we can ask for them to be supportive.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. I don't have any more.
Dave, are all your events outside? You mentioned the Railroad Museum. Is it inside or is it outside or?
That's going to be outside. We're going to be using the Gibson Park that's to the north of the museum itself. And we're trying to figure out the best, angle for the sun because we're going to do it in the afternoon. And then we have, some of our events are going to be, some of the events where we actually don't pay for the musicians, but like Sassafras and Living the Good Life, I think they're going to be doing open jams, and we're just going to be putting it in our program. So somebody else is paying for it, so that helps us. But it's just listed along with everything else that we have there. We have a few events that are going to be in the Brewery Arts Center. We're using we have to pay for that. So, but we've used the performance hall, we've used the ballroom, I believe, we've used the black box, like the speakeasy dance party is going to be in the black box. And, but quite frankly, the Brewery Arts Center, they're going to have a very busy summer this year, and I think by the time the Jazz and Beyond comes around, I think they're going to be a little bit tired. Yes, Gina just nodded. Yeah, so they're kind of saying, okay, if you don't mind, we're going to limit you on how many events you can have on our inside facilities, or even the Minnesota Street, that new little stage that they're putting in there together.
Well, my point is, if we have an inside event, I kind of agree with you, Barbara. Sooner or later, you're going to have to start charging.
Well, we did charge. We have charged for events like the Waters concert. Actually, that was 2 years ago. I corrected myself on that. And we did a Motown concert, which we thought was going to be really great, and we didn't get a big crowd. Unfortunately.
I'm just talking specifically about the jazz event. If you have an inside event, I think you should charge. I really do.
We pretty much, most things we have some things we don't, But on some of them, we get sponsors too. So, I'm sort of on the promise that it would be free to the public. So,
the commissioners clearly want you guys the commissioners clearly want you to be very profitable.
Well, we hope not to lose money like we did on some years. Like last year, we lost money. We asked for $8,000, we got $6,000. We lost about $2,000, quite frankly. And we have people who are working really, really, really hard on this, and just only so far volunteer work can go. And okay.
If we could just get an unexpected gift of a lot more money from the city coffers or redevelopment or somewhere, then we wouldn't be having these issues. But I think, for instance, we went to the Chamber Singers concert at St. Peter's. It was lovely. It was wonderful. But you didn't charge enough. And I know it's just, people just expect that they're going to have to pay something. So I hope that you'll look at that and get your donor base up there.
Well, I'll get along the same line. I know I'm running a little bit longer than my time, but along the same line, I'm wearing my other hat as the conductor of the symphony. Years when we first started out, we started doing the concerts for free, and then we started charging for that and then we thought people are going to say, oh, this year, it's going to go. Your attendance is going to go down. Well, it didn't go down, and we started bringing some money. We were always asking for donations, but I agree with you. A lot of things. If you're charging for it, people say, "Oh, this must be good." We have the Rolling Stones. I can pay $600 for a ticket. No, we're not. We're not quite there, and I don't want to take that financial risk. It's for my organization, but I do want to see the city. Happy and thriving.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Okay, and our fourth applicant, the Nevada Day Powwow Committee. Greetings, and if you could just state your name for the record, and also please give us a good pronunciation of your powwow.
My name is Martin Montgomery, and this is Lorraine Plimpton. It's Laka Lelby is how you would say it. Excuse me, just trying to clear my throat a little bit. So Laka Lelby, it just means the gathering or the people's gathering. And so I brought a PowerPoint and gave you guys copies. I'll kind of run through it briefly just so not to take up too much time, but and then just to try to give you an overview of the event itself. So if you look up on the screen or to your papers, you'll see this is actually when Laka Lelby was held in the 60s. And so then it was just known as the gathering or the event or the Nevada Day Powwow. And so this currently is where Oneida and Curry Street meet. So the streets were not quite established then, and it was just a big dirt lot. So so that was then. And then the next slide will show you similar to. So this is what we're looking at today. And so we have between 200 and 300 dancers. We have about 2,000 visitors that come for the event, local and out of state and out of town. And then we have between 20 and 30 vendors every year. That's arts and crafts and food vendors. And so we do charge for them to come in and set up their booth and stuff for the weekend, as most events do. And then we don't have an admission price, but we do accept donations. We ask for donations for sponsorship for certain categories that are a part of the budget, and we do get corporate and personal donations to help offset some of the cost. And so the next slide, if you can go to the next one. So this is just kind of telling you what I just had said. So the name itself, it started in 1981, so we're looking at 30-plus years for the Laka Lelby Powwow, but from the pictures before, you've seen it's been going on for quite a long time. And then just sort of our mission statement is to be able to create and bring people together. So we want to do that through food and culture and dancing and sharing. And it's not necessarily just the Native American community, because we have visitors that have come from China and New Zealand and Australia and England, and as well as our local community people. So every year we get a different group that kind of comes in, and just as being a part of the Nevada Day event list, we have visitors that just come in and stop by, and we do ask them to share their cultures as well. So they might perform a song or a dance or something in that regard, and partake and follow along with whatever might be going on with the singing and dancing at the time. So it's been happening that way since I was a little kid, and I have been trying to expand the event as much as possible. Seems every year we get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, and this last year we got to capacity for our building and stuff. So that's a part of our next goal, is to be able to fill a civic center or a city center pavilion or something. And then at that point, maybe we could start looking at charging for admission and things. The last page will show you where I just came from, but this is recognition from the governor's office, listing it as a Nevada Day event. So that's just kind of showing you that we've been out there trying to let everybody know, and that we are here with the Nevada Day stuff that happens. But so anyway, that was just a recognition that came from their office. And then this is kind of getting into the powwow style. So you can see we have everything from infants all the way up to elders that come and dance and sing, and then also just people that part of the communities that like to come down and watch and listen. And we do have other stuff that may not be involved in the dancing and the singing. We have a horseshoe tournament that's open for whoever plays horseshoes, and we have some other exhibitions and stuff that happen outside that need a little bit more space. We have a game that it's similar to lacrosse or to hockey, but the women play it. So they are out there rolling around in the field and stuff, and so that's right next door to the gymnasium itself. So, but anyway, the next. Excuse me. So I originally. our numbers are changing all the time, so that's why there's a couple question marks up here. So we do get tribal sponsorship from the local Washoe tribe. Them and the Carson Community Council all donate money from their budgets to help support the event. Anything that has not been donated with corporate and personal sponsorship, we do all the fundraising for it. So, and being that it's 30 plus years, we just kind of feel that, the community depends on the event every year, and so we do our best to go out and hustle and request and everything else that we need to raise money for it. So when I had done the application, the part of the request line asked, I thought it was asking for our budget for the overall, but I didn't realize it was also for the request amount. So the $21,300 is not what we're asking for. So that was my mistake in reading and trying to complete the application in time. I had 2 weeks that I was trying to complete everything in from when I had become aware of the application and stuff. So we're looking closer to 15,300, and it's probably not even that much as well, because we do get corporate and personal sponsorship as well. So we're maybe around 10,000 is what we might be asking, but we'll accept anything, and and as well as suggestions and ideas and stuff, we're always open to too. So that, just to clarify, that part was my mistake, and I didn't realize that I was asking everybody for $21,000. So it's not quite, so it's not quite that much, but that's just kind of an overview of what our total event cost. So if you could do the next slide, please. So this is kind of a breakdown of the budget and stuff that's involved, and that's similar to the gentleman that went before us. We do have a few kind of headliners and stuff that we bring in, and they're there through the 3 days of the event, and that we do pay them. That's the top lines there for like the master of ceremonies, and then we have an arena director that just kind of helps keep everything moving and flowing along, and then there's what we call the head man and head woman. So these are dance positions that they just kind of help invite everybody to come out and keep things flowing, and then we have our host drum would be similar to somebody or musicians that are just sort of your headliner group, and so we pay them the amounts that are showed there. And then we have things, the breakdown stuff like Sandy huts, and we don't have a facility cost because the gym is donated. So we do have in-kind that we take for that, but there isn't an actual cost, so that saves us a little bit. And then there is we do a little bit of dance competition stuff, and not all of the dancers that show up and attend the event are there for dance contests. Some of them are doing it just because they love to dance, so that's a part of that as well. But on an average, this is about what a powwow generally runs. So it's kind of the median cost. Some of them are in the hundreds of thousands, and some of them are our first year in 2011 that we took over on. It was purely social, so it's just something that was free for everybody. But we're trying to draw tourism. We're trying to draw people from out of state, out of country, out of mind. I'm just kidding. But to come here to the city. And so this is just an overview of the budget there, but if you can go to the next one. And so this is what our sponsorship looks like for every year. So it could be a corporate sponsorship and or personal. So we would add, and this is our category, this is our biggest cost that's kind of involved. And so it's all the way from $10 all the way up to $300 is kind of the max that we request from corporate and or individual. And generally we get about 3/4 of this list filled from personal donations. It's as the gentleman before me said, it is hard because everybody's out there asking for donations and requests, and we appreciate everything, as I'm sure everybody else does. But so it is a little bit of legwork, but we don't mind doing that. it's all for the community and stuff that attend, so it's all worth it at the end of the day. But that's a breakdown of kind of what our sponsorship lists look like. And then this is basically kind of what the request is kind of helping to preserve for us in terms of the event. I mean, we're looking at, we do have about between 1,500 and 2,000 people that attend throughout the weekend on kind of an estimated average. And so what we do is we work with some of the local casinos and restaurants and stuff. So we, like, for example, we work with Gold Dust West and City Center Hotel to provide kind of a discounted rate for the weekend, and in turn we send everybody over there to stay. I mean, we'd love to be able to do the same thing with other hotels. Some of them are they want a certain number of how many people are going to be renting from them and at what cost, and then if not, they want us to pay for that. So it's a little bit of give and take, I guess, but for the most part, some of the casinos and stuff that we're working with already are very understanding with, it could be 20, it could be the whole hotel is full. So it just kind of depends. But on average, I think that we do about 20 to 30 rooms for the weekend, if not more. So we're trying to, bring the people that come in for the event, we try to send them out to, the different establishments and things here in town. So, eat at this place or stay over here, gamble over here. And, I attend, as well as Lorraine, these events all year round. And so I know what it's like to travel out somewhere and you want a good place to eat and a warm place to sleep. And so we try to provide that with the collaboration as much as possible. And so we have the community partnership and collaboration. So we're trying to expand that as much as we can every year, working with not only the local tribal groups, but as well as the the city establishments and stuff. So we're always looking for donations, sponsorship, and a lot of them are able to do things like, because we have a raffle and stuff that we do there as well, that you don't have to be present to win, but they might do something like a free dinner here or a night stay there, and that all helps attract more people for the raffle, which helps raise some funds for the event itself. But it's a little bit more difficult to get monetary sponsorship, but wherever they're not able to assist with that, then we certainly try to do as much fundraising through other events and stuff as well. So one of the other last things is the cultural diversity. So we're always trying to welcome as many people as we can to the event. Again, it's not solely about the Native American community, but we want as many visitors, because the more visitors we have there, the more are gonna buy the food, buy the arts and crafts that are available, and then just be a part of the event itself. So the dancing and stuff is only one component, but we also have art. We have Halloween, because during Halloween we have kids and adult costume contest that's open for people. Years past, Rupert's Auto Body used to turn their house into kind of a fun house, so we're working with them on doing that again. And then, like I said before, we have the horseshoe tournament and stuff, and then some of the other exhibitions that go on outside. So we're trying to make as much of a family encompassed event. It's drug and alcohol free, so we don't have anything available in terms of alcohol, but that's a part of some of the idea that I think we can all have a good time without having to be necessarily under the influence. But that way it's just for safety and for being able to enjoy as much of the music and dancing and stuff as possible. So as far as everything goes, we do have our long-term goals that we'd like to get to, and so some of that is why we've started to come for city support, because eventually, like last year, we're at capacity for some of our buildings and stuff, so we're gonna have to look at moving it to a bigger facility, and but that involves cost too at some point. So right now we're able to cut some cost corners with not having to pay for a facility, but that's going to be be a part of the longevity of the event itself at some point. So trying to make ourselves as much aware of, costs as possible, and then just taking it year to year. But if you can go to the last slide. So this is an event that I just came from in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where there's 3,000 to 5,000 dancers, and so the pit is similar to Lawler Event Center, and it's completely full. I believe this year there was about 10,000 visitors that came there, and that's worldwide. So they're also on the web. I think they said there was 32 countries that were viewing this event this last weekend. So this is our big goal. And the problem is we don't have a facility here in town to house something like that, but maybe in the future we will. So if we do get to the point where we have a city center and a facility like that, we'd certainly love to fill it. But that also, spreads the wealth with staying in our local hotels and casinos and restaurants, and even there's these guys gave away a car this last weekend. So looking at being able to purchase and then raffle off a vehicle or something at some point is a big goal of ours. So, and that speaks to some of the other businesses here in town. So that's our big goal. So we'd like to get to that. We're not close yet, but we're on the road. So, but with any support that we can get, it certainly helps. And eventually, I think next year we're trying to look at moving to a bigger facility here in town. So, but. Again, it's all in the works, and and we're open to any suggestions and ideas and things for improvement, and then just being able to, I think the collaboration for all of the community stuff that may happen is something that we're always open to. So, but if you guys have any questions.
It says tribal donation. Can you give me a little more information about who comprises tribal donations? Just personal here in Carson? Is it bigger? Is it state of Nevada? Is it national? Casinos? What does that mean?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Now let the women talk.
My name's Lorraine Plimpton. I'm the Secretary Treasurer of the Lac-A-Lelby Powell Committee. What it is we've had a lot of donations from various tribes. Locally, it's Washoe Tribe of Nevada and California. We've received donations from, Fallon Paiute Shoshone Tribe, Yerington Paiute Tribe, Tuolumne, California, their tribe, Jackson, Rancheria. We've had people come in from as far as North Dakota, South Dakota, Canada, who brought in some support with them because they were here visiting, enjoyed the event, and donated while they were here. Speaking about our event, the culture and the arts is probably the main number one draw for us. And I know there was great discussion on what our event was and what category here. But a lot of it is a passing and continuation of the culture and the dance. The singers or performers that come, it's full participation with the audience and the performers and the groups that come in. And so they bring their family members who all are bringing with their families, their culture, tradition, everything that has been passed through them, with beadwork, sewing, applique, all of the things that they bring with them. That's foundational. But the main for us is to continue educating both the local communities and visitors who long for some more art enhancement. So we're living art, if you will. I guess that's the best way to explain, living art and culture. And when we heard about this grant or funds, we were really excited because, we've had our neighborhoods, we fill a large amount of space in South Carson, and not only Carson Indian community, but also the Stewart Indian community, and so there's a lot of urban people who are native, and so it was really an opportunity for us to get our name out there, get our event publicly known, and that we're here and we're open and we're welcoming. And so in that sense, that's the diversity. Because we've had a lot of struggles in the past of maintaining, a lot of the art and culture. And so the more education and knowledge that people share with it, it really brings it together for us. As far as our fundraising, it's really difficult to kind of explain it because we do a majority of the fundraising at the event. But during the year, we do things like a turkey shoot. We've had people come in, and usually that happens in...
It's usually one of our first.
Closer to the event. We've had dinners where we've had our local artists, native artists, come in and do performances while we serve them dinner, and they pay at the door for this event. We've had Indian taco sales. I know just the taco sale at the powwow last year netted about $2,000, and that was just our committee putting that together. And then all of the artists, the vendors who come in, they bring us donations, and that's also part of the raffle. And I throw in my star quilts, or I think people know them as Lone Star quilts, but I make those as part of our big item sales for the raffle. As far as the other monetary, once people know that there's this powwow, they come and they bring their money, and they spend the weekend spending money. We've had floats in the powwow, and so that's another advertising. We do a lot of word-of-mouth advertising, which doesn't cost. And, of course, all of our committee and our members, we have members at large, we spend all of our time, free donation, and all of our time doing this fundraising event. And we travel, like Martin was saying, we travel all year long and pass our flyers for the event, inviting people here. And so then we bring in more vendors and more artists, and it's grown. Our committee has been organizing since about 2011, so we're new as a committee, but we had seen our powwow dwindle down to almost going away. And so it was very important for us to revitalize it and bring it back to life, because this was so, I was a young girl when this started. And so my children were raised going to this every year. And so, a lot of the people, they have that loyalty and they have that, that heart for this event. So that's why we're doing that. We're going to keep going as far as we can. So I'm not sure what more, because I was trying to give you some examples of some of the fundraising that we do all throughout the year.
I just want to say, I want to see Indian tacos everywhere. They're just amazing. So Brewery Arts Center, Indian tacos.
No, I think it's wonderful. Our kids grew up coming to the powwows, and then all of a sudden they sort of went off the map, and we didn't hear anything further. But I think this is a huge resource for the state of Nevada, and especially northern Nevada, and it's something to be honored and cared for. And somehow, I'm sorry, this is your first go-round with government kind of funding. And I don't want you to be disappointed, but certainly, it is fair to say, come in the future and put in a request, because I think you should. I think it's fine. But I also think Rancheria and all these other places, like down in Placerville and so on, they should be stepping up to the plate too. And, how that could be happening. And I know you've got a board of directors now. So, looking at all the ways that you can get funding to come in, because it's deserved and it's right. Thanks for doing this.
Nice presentation.
Yeah. Terrific.
Well, so I just want to thank you for putting in the application, because I feel pretty strongly that the two Indian colonies are within the Carson City community, and we all live here together. And so I'm really glad to see, and I hope that we can interface with each other more often. We get a lot out of having the Native American culture right here in our everyday lives. And so I think that it's important that we diversify how the city looks at the different events. And I think it's a really great component of the Nevada Day weekend. That weekend is really chock full, and I think that's a really nice side event to be able to get off the main drag and go to. But I wanted to ask you, are you gonna have enough room this year for your event?
I hope so.
Don't go to Lawler.
No.
Region Carson.
Right. So, I mean, we're looking at this as being the last year there at that facility. So we do want to move it to something like the building here, or the hard part is we were looking at the pavilion next door. The only thing is, in October it could be warm or it could be snowing, so we've mostly been inside, and then just some of the regalia and stuff involved. People don't want to be snowed on and rained on, and just generally speaking, you don't want to sit there and watch everything while you're having rain and things hit you. But so we would certainly like to move it to a bigger facility, so we will probably look at doing that for next year. And I know that some of the rental timelines involved are year to year, so we'll definitely look at doing something like that. Because I think, for example, having it in a building like this with the carnival next door, and then some of the other stuff going on down with the parade right down the street, it would be within walking distance for everybody to be able to bring their families to and visit and be able to have a taco and then go next door and have your kids play and things like that. And so, I mean, we're certainly open to some ideas like that in the future. But so this year,
book really far in advance for this building. Yeah.
So that's the stuff that we have to find out. And some of it, I think, is we weren't sure at what time and what point do committees and boards start looking at applications and what kind of deadlines and stuff were involved. Because looking online, sometimes it's a little bit vague, or it doesn't really give you a lot of detail as to when and who do you give applications to and who's the correct person to submit things to. So, but as we move forward, I think that we certainly would like to find out any and all information that we can look to, and like the tourism boards, and we've also talked to Nevada Arts Council, because I've done some side work with them and stuff, but and then also trying to move into the 501c3 category with our committee and stuff. So because everything we do is purely voluntary, and I think some of it is we spend our own money out of our own pockets to put the event on without hesitation, because it's for the community, and just the pure love that we and enjoyment that we get from seeing people coming in to partake in the event itself. So, we're not asking for, any money for ourselves or anything. It's just for the event, but and that's just the way that we've always done it. So, but again, like looking at the picture here, that's certainly our goal at some point. But if there's any way, and we've been talking with the Washoe tribe, they're actually opening a casino this month. So, in talking with some of the boards there, looking at for the future, what kind of donations they might be able to assist with, in turn sending people to the local tribal gas stations and or casinos and whatever else, because it only makes sense. But that's what we're already doing with our local establishments here with Gold Dust and City Center Hotel and whoever else, like Western Nevada Supply and things that we work with. So just trying to, I guess, work with everybody as often as possible and to build a strong relationship with our community partnerships.
Getting out there and getting known, is really what you need to do now. But it'd be nice to see a budget, even a young budget, but it would be nice next time to see a budget in terms of your needs and expenses and that sort of thing. Go to the Meeks Bay folks, because they ought to be contributing to this too. The Washoe up there and the folks who are running. It's all one.
Yeah.
But they should be ponying in a little bit of money from
Certainly. The application did include some of an outline of our budget, and then also just kind of a brief overview from the PowerPoint this evening included. But we can certainly detail that as much as requested, so.
So are there any other comments or questions from the commissioners? I would just like to say it's a pleasant surprise to see Lorraine. I haven't seen you in about 10 years, so nice to see you again.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, any further comments from the public about the applicants?
Thank you, John Barrett. These are all good applications, and I'm glad to hear about them. However, I came for the next item, and I just want to say I've read it, and I think it's wonderful. I hope you go ahead and approve it. If there are changes, I'll just have to hope that they're the right changes, because we're going home to our puppy. Okay.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the commission here? It was going to be really easy, and we were going to have $4,500 left remaining that wasn't requested. One way to do it is just to give the $4,500 to the Nevada Day Powwow Committee, or we could try and do percentages. So let's start that discussion.
Well, I don't like percentages. I think that becomes too arbitrary.
Yeah.
I'll take the first stab. My thought is that Brewery Arts Center did exactly what we asked them to do.
Yes.
And so, I would like to give them the $5,500. The powwow this is the first time that they've come to us for monies. I would like to at least be able to match what the tribe gave them. So, it's $6,000, and then award Carson City Arts Initiative $5,500 and Mile High Jazz $7,000. So that's open for discussion, but just as a starter, that's my thinking.
Would you give those figures again?
Yeah, give them the
Yes, BAC $5,500. Carson City Arts Initiative $5,500. Mile High Jazz Band $7,000. And the La Kalel, I'm going to slaughter it, the powwow $6,000. And that totals $24,000.
24,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's.
Yeah, I like those numbers too. And I look forward to seeing more and more people participate in asking for the grants, because Carson has a lot of neat cultural opportunities that, so yeah, no, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, Danielle, just to follow up on your comment, last year we talked about, when we were going over these requests, that yes, that we wanted to see some new applicants. So here we go.
That was an official motion, okay. So let me just, okay,
That is an official motion.
Then I'll second it so we can discuss it.
I just want to double check the numbers here that I wrote them down. Brewery Arts Center, $5,500, Capital City Arts Initiative, $5,500, Mile High Jazz Band, $7,000, and the powwow at $6,000.
Yes.
Okay?
And do I second that?
It's already been seconded. So, public comment? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay? No? Okay.
Do good stuff.
Motion has passed.
I will go ahead and send this on to Lee Plemmel tomorrow morning so that he knows what the action the commission took. So we'll get that taken care of.
And I'd just like to say thank you to all the applicants. I wish there was more money,
Me too, you'd get it all.
but we're trying to forward the master plan as we set it forward, so.
Oh, and I'm just pleased that we're able to give all of our applicants more than we gave them last year.
Yes, yeah, which is nice.
Thank you. We appreciate the city's support. It really is vital. It really is. Since the powwow grant was moved over, RAC didn't send any money with it. Was there a reason?
I was not there at the meeting, so I cannot answer that question.
Is that a question that could be asked? Why
My
didn't-
understanding is that it just got included in the wrong packet.
Yeah.
That was the deal. It was included in the wrong packet. It should have been in ours, and it wasn't.
Okay.
The amount of
I
money.
understand that, but I still, it's odd from my perspective. So I think perhaps the Cultural Commission's charge then is to increase the budget for grants coming up from the city?
Well, let me kind of explain that. As I understand it, the redevelopment authority has X amount of money they have every year. And then from that money, and Lee Plemmel and the folks over there at Finance determine what
Yeah.
that money is.
Right.
And it's set that 60% goes to the special event funding, 40% comes over here to the cultural side. So those numbers,
You just said, okay. These are special cultural events as opposed to special events?
that's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, got
So
it.
for example, in my staff report, I'll go back to my staff report. What it says at the bottom of my staff report is this year the redevelopment office received only received applications for a total of blah, blah, blah. The amount that is under the 24,000 is allocated to these events. Oops, that's not exactly what I wanted to say. But basically the bottom line is I believe the redevelopment authority, when the money was split, we got 24 and I think they got 36, I think. 60. Right. So that's how that was set up. So that's kind of a predetermined formula.
Something I read in this stuff, it said
Mike?
they only had one application. They had two applications, and they sent one here.
Here, correct, yes.
So they kept their $36,000 for their $9,000 Fourth of July application.
No, that's not quite true. They had several applications, but only one applicant showed up, so they only acted on the one applicant.
Does that mean they would have leftover funding?
So is it worth a question?
I don't think so. I think we got the 40% that.
Yeah, we got the 40%. Stan's right. We got the 40%, which was the 24,000 that we get to spread around.
Okay, I look forward to that $24,000 growing.
We all do.
No,
We all do.
I think it's, I'm being silly, but I'm not. I think that the Cultural Commission gets to lobby the Board of Supervisors and to help make that grow.
You know, it's one of those things, it's part of the redevelopment allocation, and hopefully in growing the events and growing the economy, it will grow. That's the whole thought process.
Can I ask?
I appreciate you answering my questions. Thank you.
Karen, since you're the Board of Supervisors representative here, where do these funds originate?
They originate from the tax increment based upon, the appraised value of the properties in the redevelopment areas. So that's where the money is derived from, and then allocated to a variety of different funds within that. And this is what's allocated for events, whether cultural or not.
So the way to increase that, just if the baseline payments on the taxes of the properties in those redevelopment areas were always the same, let's just say hypothetically. The only way we could get that increased is if we lobbied the Board of Supervisors for a larger cut.
No.
No.
No. The only way it works is as property values go up, that increment increases. That's all.
You pay more into
Yeah.
property value. And I wonder, if the public knew the need and what their dollar really does, and who it helps, and what it does to the quality of life in Carson, I just think, why wouldn't you say yes, that you'd pay another dollar or you'd do another whatever? It just doesn't make sense to me that, no. So I think, well, at one point, we were valued higher, and then the bottom fell out, and then we were devalued, and now is it going to start going back up?
It is via
Well,
budget
see?
projections. Let's hope. Nobody has a crystal ball, so.
But that's a good thing.
Right? If I want to get Kendall on the phone. We're running a little behind when I told her.
You have.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
I should probably quit when I'm ahead, but I just have one comment and an idea on what we were discussing. Rather than increasing the funding, or in addition to increasing the funding, on the ground floor of the Art Town events that I was a part of from the very beginning, we had in-kind services as a grant from the city of Reno to help with stage, to help with licensing fees, to help with that kind of thing. That might be another alternative that we can look into as far as helping and having the city be a part of the events and the cultural initiative, and having some skin in the game.
Like it.
Good idea.
Kendall, how are you?
Good.
Hey, I'm sorry we're running a bit behind what we thought we would be here for, but good things have happened here. So, but we're ready.
Okay.
But we're ready to tackle your agenda item.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Kendall.
Well, I think, Kendall, my suggestion would be is just kind of walk us through the document. Kendall, my thought would be at this point is to just have you, where'd Joel go? Is Joel still here? Do you want to come up, Joel? Be a part of this too? Anyway, we have, of course, the commission here. We have, just so you know, Kendall, we have, I'm just going around the table, we have Terry is here, Ellie, Danielle, Stan, Karen, and Barb. Joel is coming up to the front too. Roger's somewhere around. We have Iris, and we have myself here, so plus a few members of the public that have been hanging out to hear this particular agenda item. But I think the best way to handle this is the document that you put together and that city staff and a few folks and Joel have been working on. I would just say walk us through it real quick. Everybody has had the opportunity to look at it, or so I'm making the assumption, so we can move forward from there and proceed to comments to the commission. So how about if we do that?
Okay. I made all the suggested changes. So basically, we have in order the public art and culture program. You have your funding policy, and going through this, let's see. In the public arts involvement policy. Public art and then we have the donations and privately funded projects policies. Maintenance, conservation, and preservation policy, which is really important. Relocation and deaccessioning policy. And then I've added a fixed asset form and directions or instructions for that, filling out the fixed assets form, and I'm going to comment on that in a second. So I think that's pretty much it. What I wanted to say is Ellie and I had communicated by email. Vern, did you receive the book that I sent you?
Yes, I did get that just a day or two ago, yes.
What I found, there's so much great background information which would really substantiate what we've done, because I think these are best practice policies. But I found in that book, and it's worth it just for the book, is maintenance forms that you can have your artists fill out, and they're foolproof for both two-dimensional and three-dimensional work. So there's really no question when you come down to this maintenance issue, which is always a sticky wicket. Barbara Goldstein has written that book, and it's really the Bible. But the maintenance for artists is worth the whole price of the book, and there's so much more in there. I believe you'll want to join AFTA's PAN, which is the Public Art Network, once you have your coordinator on board. It's just a very low fee for joining, but they give you kid glove service. I found nothing but really good feedback from AFTA's PAN program. And I gave you, I think Vern forwarded the 4-page document from AFTA, I'm hoping, which is kind of a guide to best practices. And there's some things in there that are in progress, such as the PAN program will probably determine this year the number of pixels for artists submitting work and what form, so that there would be a national database. I just wanted you to know that. But I really commend you on adopting, what I think are the best of public art policies to launch your program. I'm very proud of these, and I hope you are too. It's just, I feel that whatever ordinance, and by the way, there are other ordinances in Barbara's book, and there are really some safeguards for the commission and your new coordinator working with the city. With all due respect, Roger and Vern, sometimes the city attorneys don't quite know how to do this the first time through, so there are real examples in there for them. Everybody's laughing, but been there, seen that. So I felt like this would be a great reference for you all. And that's kind of it. I have one more comment, but were there any changes or corrections or additions that you wanted to add to the policies and procedures?
Kendall, I have two questions. This is Karen. One, are you suggesting that in this packet, before it goes to the Board of Supervisors, that we should include the maintenance form in the packet as part of policy? And two, I had a question with regards to art projects and so forth. Do we include the cost of insurance on those art projects as part of the cost of the project?
The first part of your question is, I would leave, I think this is a form that you may want to add to it later. You might want to try it out. You haven't even had a chance to kind of really process it, but I felt it was very, very conscientious, and it included things that sometimes artists don't think about. Like even in two-dimensional work, did you use a varnish on it? These are things that I normally wouldn't have thought of, but I think it's just really important. I also emailed you as a sidebar, Karen, Vern, Ellie, and Las Vegas. It would be funny if it weren't so serious. Someone over the weekend stole a piece of public art. It was a giant golden lion wearing red sunglasses, and it was left in the desert. And someone picked it up this morning and drove it to work, thinking that, he had this awesome find, and realized that it was this stolen piece of work. It's the second installation of something called the Center Program, which is Las Vegas putting public art in its medians, okay? And it was surrounded by, are you ready for this, pink crocodiles. And some of the crocodiles are still at large, and a few of them were vandalized. So even driving home tonight, this was a front page story in the Las Vegas News Review this morning, and I heard it on the radio driving home tonight, and they are going to press larceny, if and when they find the thieves. Something tells me this is probably kids, but still, the lion was deposited in the middle of the desert. But it is coming home, and the artist and the center committee will have to decide how to reinstall. So I thought I'd just tell you that. Regarding insurance, Karen, it's a case-by-case situation, and as I mentioned to Vern, I think this is something for your what do you call it, Vern, in your situation is sort of the insurance, the risk management people. If it's a really valuable piece of art, and the reason I told you about this story is, putting art in a medium in a city where we have we kill pedestrians, given a lot of alcohol and drugs and so on. I just wonder how many cars are going to hit the median. You know what I'm saying? So I would think that there would be an insurance value. In the story that I sent you, the public art administrator said the 150-pound lion was priceless, but I doubt. I think it was hyperbole on his part. But you see what I'm saying? If it's a really valuable piece of work, your risk management people all the way through the process, you're not going to put a Picasso statue or, a sculpture close to where a tree can fall on it. Are you with me?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's the kind of thing that it really works out in the process, and in the policies. We really have an engineer coming in. We have people from the city to just check this as it goes by so that we can really evaluate it.
Kendall, this
Karen,
is Terry.
To give you some guidance, is that Barbara? Hold on just a sec. To give you some guidance, I would have you talk to, there are some people that I have you follow up with. I would like you to talk to the Seattle Arts Commission because they've had 40-some years of doing this. And their risk management policies, they'd probably just email them to you. I can help you with that, by the way. Barbara, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
No, this is Terry. Hi.
Okay. Hi.
So is this the ordinance, this 20-page document, the ordinance? I don't understand where the ordinance is.
No, I think your ordinance really will. I was told that this would go to your legal people who would draw up the ordinance. The first document, which is your public art and culture program, that's the guts of the ordinance.
Right, okay.
And then you would refer or reference your other documents. As I told Karen in the beginning way back, I said, I wouldn't vote for this unless I saw that you had the policies and procedures in place to really conduct this program. So I feel like this is terra firma for you.
Okay, and I have some specific questions about how these different bodies, committees, subcommittees, panels are going to interface. So Let's start with the Public Art and Community Design Commission, which is a standing committee of this commission with a minimum of 7 members.
Yeah. Right.
We are 7 members, and so that means we go back and forth between the standing committee and then being...
No. I think it was a really touchy situation on my part. The Arts and Culture Commission, the Carson City Cultural Commission, the CCCC, right? It's a conflict of interest for you to make policy and also decide on public art. That's why you would appoint this standing committee. Are you with me? And under that standing committee, if you can, maybe we can draw a little chart on this. You would have your panels, which are specific to a particular public art project, such as, a mosaic project would have a different panel than, say, an earthworks project or a huge piece of sculpture that has to go into a new building. Yes.
You need to get your mics on when you guys talk.
Okay, so they'd be reporting to us, but they would not be made up of any of the Cultural Commission members? Or would there be an overlap?
No, because it's conflict of interest.
And then
you can't make policy and determine the artist at the same time.
Right, okay, so then the Public Art Project Panel is another group who are not Cultural Commission members. And can they also not be on the panel on the Public Art and Community Design Commission, or is there overlap there?
Not necessarily. If you have an outstanding architect, say, who's on your super panel, and he or she happens to be really expert in a particular panel situation, by all means. But they would have to recuse themselves when the panel brings that concern to then the super panel. You with me?
Right. I just started totaling up the amount of people that are going to have to be committed to doing this. And there are a handful of people that come to every one of our meetings and that are committed. Some people are overcommitted. And I just wanted to clarify, like, how many individuals that are really committed to public art in Carson City are we talking about? Because I don't want to run out of people.
Yes, I understand that, but you also can have people, say, from Reno, or like Christine Fay could be on a certain panel or whatever. And also, if you read the guidelines very carefully, you may not want to do a panel for every project. Some projects you're going to have this list of artists that are already pre-qualified, and you may come down to where I'm trying to get my names right. I have to turn my light on. It's getting so dark here. Where your super panel can just say, we would rather choose from the list or choose 3 qualified people and have them do a maquette or whatever and choose from that. We don't want to do a panel.
Kendall.
But I do think you need the standing committee.
Kendall, this is Ellie. And just from our previous discussions, I just wanted to clarify that these committees are created for a specific project. They're not long-standing.
Okay. The panels are, just through our termination, yes. Correct, Ellie.
All of these coordinated by the coordinator, right, who's interfacing on all of these? Different
Well, yeah, I think that person has to be your point person.
Is the point person who's intermixing with all of these?
That's correct.
With the Visitors Bureau too?
No, I mean, basically that person brings it to the Cultural Commission.
Right.
you and the cultural, you asked for this in the past two renditions of this, where the cultural coordinator, arts and culture coordinator, would be your point person. And, but the commission ultimately ratifies it. And ultimately, you're there when it's commissioned and introduced to the community. It's your baby.
It's like a long process.
Okay, Kendall?
It is, but it keeps you out of trouble. Now, as I said, you can short-circuit the process. There is a rationale for doing that in these guidelines.
Okay, Kendall, this is Terry, so I have some further kind of nuts and bolts. The responsibilities and the guidelines that are proposed for these committees. I noticed on the Art and Culture Program, page 3, under item D, the Public Art and Community Design Committee, and it lists out the duties, right?
Right.
So I was homing in on prepares scope of services, prepares RFPs, project-related contracts under this heading, so for this committee to take care of. But then on page 2 of the Arts and Culture Program Selection Policy, God, my eyes are getting tired, the call to artists, and this was under the composition of the Public Art Project Panel. They prepare the RFP and the scope of work and the contract. So I was just a little confused.
Which number under Part 2 then, the selection? 7B. B, as you said?
Well, 7A, the request for proposal or RFQ, and then the next page, development of scope of work.
It says to initiate the call to artists, the arts and culture coordinator and the project manager shall meet with the stakeholders, blah, blah, blah. At this meeting, they will solicit input for the scope of work of the call to artists, which may include input concerning all these others. So again, your call to artists, your point person is the arts and culture coordinator. And the reason we put the project manager is if there is a city involvement or, there's an engineering issue or whatever, you want to be sure of that before you make your call to artists.
Okay. So the Public Art Project Panel wouldn't be putting out those RFPs?
Correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you.
I know this, it seems very difficult, and as I said, a little chart, maybe I can do one up in Cork Express for you guys. It seems once you get conversant with it, it helps rather than hinders, but I think we could do a little flow chart on this that would help everybody. Would that be okay?
Thank you.
That would be helpful.
Very helpful.
Yes.
This was...
it's a visual thing. We'll do it.
I have a sidebar question. Kendall, it's Barb.
Hi.
Hi. Insurance. I know that's come up. Okay, I'm Sandra Smith, the artist, and I've got this big piece, and I'm doing all this great stuff. And oh golly day, something hits me on the head, and now I am the liability. Who insures the artist? How is that? How do we know? I mean, I wouldn't want lawsuits coming.
This is in the guidelines that I gave you from PAN. It said that recommendations, I don't have them right in front of me, but if you will read them carefully, they recommend some things. They usually say that they recommend the artist, and this is for major commissions. I mean, for a small pastel drawing, you're not going to do this. But $2 million worth of, protection, and the artist is basically self-insured in that case.
Okay.
They are not beholden for workers' comp or anything like that to you all.
I just want that clear.
Yeah, it's a good point. ARPA. And again, the book really helps you with that. There are real examples. Okay?
Also, we expect
I wanted to make one more point about insurance, if I could. Again, I'd like to put you in touch with one or two people who have really done this for years. But the key is, it's like a museum. I don't know if any of you have known this, but when you walk into a museum, not everything is insured 100%. But, you know, in the insurance should be part of the maintenance. And so that can be calculated before the situation is done. You know, as part of the looking ahead past the RFP. For example, I have a colleague who does major installations for airports, and she uses fabric. Well, we know that fabric can't last past 60 years. So either they call Louise and have her come and fix it. Well, in 60 years, she may not be around. So in that case, the pieces would be either fixed by another artist or they would be deaccessioned. So these kinds of things depend on the medium and the size and where it's placed.
Kendall, help me out a little bit here, because I think you've at least lost me. Because we're I'm trying to make a distinction between insuring the art piece and then the regular maintenance that may come with it, like you were talking about. Some of this stuff, like you just mentioned, maybe won't last 60 years and you're going to have to fix it. But on the other hand, there may be something that city staff may have to do on a yearly basis with this. I'm not quite sure what that would be, depending on the piece.
And that's one of the concerns, that the reason you have that important super panel is they are expert in this. I would recommend that you not pick pieces that are high maintenance. This is the unmentionable truth behind public art. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Or, if it's really fragile, like paperwork and so on, then it's behind plexiglass or it's in a controlled space. But I guess I'm just saying to you, if you're going to put something outdoors, either, if it's hit by lightning, a tree, or a car, your insurance binder for all of your art over time would cover that, or it would have to be deaccessioned. Like, we're going to watch the situation here in Las Vegas with the Golden Lion. Maybe it won't be put back with the pink crocodiles, okay? So this is really an interesting case that just came up, and I'm sure that was all good intentions. They were trying to do something wonderful. But I just carry that on, as a good laugh, because all kinds of things can happen in public art. But the truth is, I would not go for high maintenance stuff. And that's why I told you that maintenance form in that book for both three-dimensional and two-dimensional work is so valuable.
So, and if I understand, this is Karen again, if I understand you correctly, what we're proposing for maintenance in the art should have the insurance concept wrapped into it monetarily, so that we understand per project what the actual cost of owning this piece will be. Yeah.
Correct, Karen. It's because it will ultimately be property of the city, as it's written. And so your risk management people play a key role in that. That's why, that, again, the maintenance and the maquet and all this has to be looked at by someone in the business who can work with the artist and the engineer to decide. And a lot of them are low maintenance. Cortan steel, for example, you don't have to touch it for years. I mean, if at all. That's why Cortan's a big structural, sculptural medium outdoors.
By the cover basis.
Yeah.
Does that help, Karen?
Yes. Thank you.
One of the, I'm just trying to, I'm going to make sure we kind of get everybody's comments. And Ellie, I thought you were going to say something or not. Oh, okay. It passed, okay.
Yeah, I think what I was going to say was, when we contract an artist, there is a clause in it about non-completion of the work. And this came up in my mind with the discussion of how do we insure the artist? Well, we don't. We just contract with them to complete it. If they don't get full pay.
I have a question back for you, Ellie, which I'd never thought about before, and maybe Barbara answers this in her book. But let's say the artist is halfway or three-quarters the way through the project, and the artist dies or, can't in any way physically complete it. What would be the course of action?
Wow. Good question.
Because I think that may have happened. I know it happened with Klaes Oldenburg here in Las Vegas with the big paintbrush he did. And I believe that the studio or someone else, his studio, finished the piece. But I just that's something, I'm sure it doesn't happen, but that's something I would discuss with legal. Because if it were half done, do you scuttle the project and write off the cost, or do you take it into completion? In his case, I think it was pretty like three-quarters of the way done.
And he had a studio, but not every artist works with other people.
Correct. But it could have been finished by another studio using his.
I think it has to be case by case.
Drawings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But legal can put a clause in that deals with that. Okay? Or, let's say that your budget, let's use the figure of $10,000. Okay? So if they've already spent the money for materials and so on, do you want to finish it or do you get credit? Will your insurance cover that? That's an insurance question. Okay? You're indemnified that way.
There's no way, Kendall, that we're going to think of every possible thing that could happen tonight.
But you know what's great, Ellie? If you look in the back of the book, and then if you join PAN, all you do is you call up the key people at PAN, and they will solve these problems for you. They've been so good to me. And, because they know all the different public art projects throughout the country, and they know the personnel. And if you look at Barbara's book, even though it's a little dated, those people are still pretty much around, and the offices are there. So there's a good resource for you. You don't have to know everybody. You don't have to know everything. You just have to know who to talk to. And I have just found that PAN is a godsend, the Public Art Network.
Okay, good.
At AFTA. And they will take your emails, and they will call you right back.
Thank you.
But think positive. You can be like Seattle and Atlanta. I mean, they're sitting on tens of millions of dollars in public art. In even 20 years, you guys are going to look back and you're going to go, we were there at the moment of creation. And, now we have wonderful resources and assets in the community. And, I'll go with an open heart and, you've got good policies and procedures. And, go in good faith.
Thank you. This is Terry. Thank you to everybody who worked on this. Thank you, Ellie, awesome. And Parks and Rec staff, and Joel, and Karen, and Kendall. So thank you very much. It's a very substantive document.
Thank you, Terry. I never got a chance to tell you all after the fact. It was really a privilege to work with you both on the master plan and on the public art. I feel like I'm practicing law without a license all the time on this. But I'm always learning at the same time, and I just want to commend you for taking it through all the sticky wickets. You should be very proud of yourself and for adopting the best of public arts policies, which will launch a wonderful program for Carson City. So it's been my pleasure to work with you all. I'll do a quick little flow chart tomorrow and send that off to Vern, but I think, Terry, at first it seems very convoluted, but it's not.
I think the chart, the visual chart, the organizational chart, for lack of a better term, would really, really be helpful to help visualize that.
Bless you.
Yeah, and I guess some of the comments that you've received tonight, Kendall, do you see any changes? Okay, we're going to do the little chart. Do you see any changes based on this conversation that we've had so far that actually would change what we are looking at tonight in the sense of the document?
Not really, except I think Karen's question, would you want to add the maintenance form for both the two-dimensional and three-dimensional artists? You might want to do that in the future. You know, it's in the book, so you can just copy it or transpose it, whatever. But I think
we do have the maintenance policy. That's one of the items.
You do have the policy, but
Right.
I just thought it was so helpful, Ellie, to have the form that the artist fills out.
Right, very good.
Because there are just so many fine lines that I wouldn't have thought of, and somebody else has thought of it, okay? So, you know, you're helping the artist help you. I also sent Ellie today just a hard, what do you call it, a snail mail piece, Ellie. If you know, one of the things I would love to see you do when you have your new person on staff and so on is we always had a small resource library as part of the Cultural Commission, you know, the real office now that you have that. And I did include, I think it's 1995, there is actually another companion book for public art from the artist's point of view. And I do not have that book, but I looked at all the recommendations, and Ellie, I sent you a whole thing on it. So FYI. It's just something down the road, and, you know, if you can't afford it right now, maybe someone will donate it. But again, if you want to do, you know, make that a resource library, people can't check it out because it'll disappear, but, you know, they can come into the office and really avail themselves of a good resource reference book.
Kendall, this is Vern. I just had two quick questions for you on this. We had a conversation earlier, not as we've been working through this document, and one of the requested changes that came back from this little working group that we have is that they wanted to change from public art program to public art and culture program. And I know you'd kind of had some concerns about that. I didn't know if you had other thoughts on that, but if you could share that thought, that would maybe be helpful. We were talking about a lexicon issue within the arts.
I just think whatever you guys want to do is fine by me. I kind of responded at first because generically everybody else refers to it as a public art program. Culture is kind of one of those loaded words. I like culture with a small c, but, you know, culture intimates foodways and cultural mores and stuff like that. I just don't know. It's kind of a wider berth than I'm used to. I don't care, because if you feel comfortable with that, then hold that. It's just that when you work with your peers, they're going to call it a public art program.
Kendall, I'd like to keep it fewer words, and also this policy is not to cover, it could cover temporary installations, but it doesn't cover ephemeral things like food that you're going to eat.
Mm-hmm. And Ellie, I don't have any problem with it. I really don't. So I'd say keep it in. If it was, you know, it doesn't give me heartburn. Just be aware other people are going to call it their public art program when you talk to your peers.
And then the
Any other questions, Vern?
Yeah, one last question, and this is under the funding policy. It goes back to our insurance and maintenance thing. Under your funding policy, under eligible project, it talks about projects that meet the criteria shall have a 1% of the city's CIP or permit fee funding reserve for maintenance art, for public art maintenance. So what we've discussed earlier, is that something different than this? It sounds like it is, but I wanted to check with you on that.
Different from, I'm sorry, different from?
An art piece, I guess. Maybe that's where I'm a little fuzzy. What's that?
The maintenance program will be funded by your 1%.
Okay.
And, okay, that's how you guys have split the hairs. Correct?
Well, I guess that's really the question. I'm kind of trying to get it clear in my own mind whether or not.
Yeah, if you read it 1, 2, and 3, 1 is the Visitors Bureau will fund the city's public art program in collaboration with the commission from 1%, which is, you intimated, the committee talked to me about the pass-through of the transient occupancy tax, right? Mm-hmm. Which is, and I said, well, this will be part of, what was it? We said approximate 120 to 160K that comes from the city. Mm-hmm. Correct, guys?
We were looking for a second source for the maintenance program from the development tax.
May I suggest to you that this is something that may change in the future? And that's another reason I wanted you to have that book, because there are several ordinances in there already from different cities who have done public art in a different way, each one. So, you don't have to start from scratch. You can look at somebody else's, you can open the kimono and look inside what they're doing. And, if the program really takes off and the city becomes more comfortable with it down the road, you may have this 1% of CIP, period. It's just something, it's not etched in concrete. Yeah, right now it's a little etched in gelatin. But, down the way, you've got options. You can always change this. But try it out, let's see if it really works.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions for Kendall?
Kendall, if you can hang on, we have to take public comment. There may be some public comment out there that you may want to be, may be helpful for you to respond to, depending on what we get.
Mm-hmm. Any comments or discussion from the public?
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commission. Maurice White for the record. I have some questions about the Public Art and Community Design Committee. I guess it looks like page 4. Item D. I think my questions are more to the district attorney. Item number 12, it says there, inspects the art project to certify progress and authorize payments to the artist. Now, it seems to me that any standing committee would not be authorized to issue payments. Would that not have to come through the city manager's office or the treasurer?
Yes, ultimately it would, but first, this is first line of defense. Have they met the contract?
Actually, I think the question was for the district attorney concerning Carson City policy.
Right. Are you the district attorney? I'm sorry.
No, I am.
Iris is here.
Okay.
I'm a deputy district attorney with Carson City.
The Public Art and Community Design Committee, under 12, they would first inspect it, and then they would make it, they would say, yes, we think it's right to authorize the payments. They're not going to. Ultimately, the city cuts the check
And if you read very carefully through these, you'll see that the commission has to approve it first before it's authorized, and then there's a letter to authorize.
Can we hear what Iris has to say?
She's right, except for I was not part of the authoring of this policies and procedures, so I don't have all the information to answer that question.
Again, I think these questions, I think, are for the district attorney. Now, my understanding is when you have committees of this nature, at least here in Carson City by policy, they're only authorized to gather information unless they are a body that is being controlled by the open meeting laws. For instance, items 2, 5, 7, 9, 10, and 12 all specifically instruct the Art and Community Design Committee to undertake certain actions, such as number 2, conducts a program of community education. Now, with Carson City policy, again, to Ms. Yowell, the way these 17 pieces of this policy are written, would not this body have to be controlled by the open meeting law if they were going to, in fact, conduct business, write contracts, constitute subcommittees, convene the project panel, and those sort of things that are being instructed to actually undertake here?
Well, I think this is something, yes, you should massage with your own. These are exactly what the city of Tucson uses.
We're not the city of Tucson.
Yes, and they've been using these for about 25 years. So if you have, such a heartburn with open meeting, then you may want to redesign these. My feeling is that this Public Art and Community Design Committee is expert knowledge. And, you want the best people on this as a standing committee to advise and give you some consensus about public art. But I think if you read through all of this, and certainly, I'm for I did my best on this. If you want to have
Yeah, item F under number 8 says all panel meetings shall be open to the public and public input will be solicited. Already says it.
It seems that if these go beyond what appointed committees are constrained by, then it could be reworded to that they recommend these things, but that the commission be the ones to do the authorizing. But let's hear what you have to say. We have an expert.
I would advise the board, if you're going to pass this, to allow for changes by my office, because as I said before, I was not part of the authoring of this document, and I have some problems with it.
great.
Absolutely. It's a good...
I do have a question, though, for you. I mean, you're not you're taking the money to pay for maintenance, but unlike most cities, you're not paying for the public art. Well, you are in a pass-through, but you're going through a 501c3.
the Tourist Bureau, correct?
No?
We just,
For the maintenance?
okay, we discussed this before. I mean, the money is going for public art through the Tourism Bureau, passed through in conjunction with the Cultural Commission, correct?
For the record, Joel Dunn, yeah, that's correct. The funding mechanism for...
And Joel, you are a 501c3, right?
Correct. Not only will the funding for not only the position, but also the acquisition of the art, we will also be conducting with the hired coordinator, implementing the contracts. So yes, you are correct. Once that becomes an asset of Carson City, then the maintenance kicks in. The maintenance is not provided through the 1% room tax.
I'm with you. That's how I saw it. Mm-hmm. So I'm just asking, so Joel, are you under open meeting law?
Yes, we are. And, you know, and I believe that once the district attorney has a chance to look at this, there certainly is not an issue with any of these subcommittees that are formed of expert panels within our community or even outside of our community based on the project itself. To follow open meeting laws won't be an issue at all. So if that's the direction that comes back from the DA's office.
Great.
You know, and Kendall...
Thank you, Joel.
Yeah. No, and Kendall, well, this is the first time we've had the chance to work with this at this level with the committee and with other staff. So that's, you know, we got here, we wanted to get here to have this discussion publicly and to start, you know, piecing together some of these other things that we need to add. So you got us here, we appreciate it, you know, so we're starting into what we have to do as a city to kind of tweak this thing to work it through the process. And so we'll still probably give you a call from time to time and get your thoughts. But now we as a staff level, the DA's office, we've even sent this over to the city manager to look at. So we have to start. So I agendized this for action simply because if we needed to, we could take action. But from what I'm hearing tonight, we need to work on this a little bit more and maybe bring it back in June. So, you know, so I think that's probably what I would recommend to the Cultural Commission tonight is let's hear from the city manager's office. If we can get something out of them, we'll let Iris and the DA's office look at it. And again, this is our first airing publicly of it. How many times did we take the master plan public? So, but
more ownership, you know, if you can get everyone's buy-in, everyone's happy with it, I think that's the happy.
Sorry, can you say that again, Kendall? The mic went off on you. I'm sorry.
I just feel that, you know, the more buy-in you can get from everybody, you know, the ownership in this, it's not being right or wrong. It's whatever really works best for you. But I think the policies are tight. So, you know, make it your own, pass it through legal, et cetera. And then, you know, everybody's really happy with it.
And it's just one more filter that we have to pass it all through, because the more and more eyes, at least this is my feeling, is the more and more eyes look at this, the more and more people ask the questions, we'll have answers when we get to the Board of Supervisors, and we'll have a lot of these little things tweaked our way through the process. So Morris, I appreciate you from a personal perspective. I appreciate you taking the time to actually read the document and come with questions. So that's really important, and I really appreciate not only the committee doing that, but the public input we were receiving, and then, you know, we look forward to your input in the DA's office as well. So, yeah, go ahead, Morris.
On page 6 of the policy, number 2, with the heading eligible projects, when it's talking there about the maintenance to come from the 1% of CIP or the permit fee funding, two things. What do you envision this maintenance actually consists of, and when will this funding mechanism need to be triggered and provide maintenance to the Public Works?
Are you asking me?
I think it's
whoever has the answer.
When the work is completed and it's turned over to the city, then it needs maintenance.
Per the maintenance form and the
light keeps going off. So I'm saying that. Say that again, Kendall. I'm sorry.
I said, that's why, as part of the contract, you have that maintenance form that I pointed to in the book that's so comprehensive, so that everything is thought about before, not after the fact. You with me?
Yes.
And that really helps, And along the way with the process, you go, oh my gosh, there are two ways to do this. One is really high maintenance, and one would be really moderate and low maintenance. The committee will put pressure on this to make it work as a low maintenance project, to rethink it. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
So what we'll do next time, we'll bring back thoughts from this meeting, the DA's office in June, if we can make that all happen reasonably quick. I will also include in the packet the next time Kendall's flow chart. I think that'll be helpful for everybody.
Yes.
This maintenance form that Kendall keeps referring to, I will make sure that gets into the packet. And then there was this 4-page document that Kendall sent. I will also include that as an FYI. And so that'll give everybody else a little more reference to work from and to work toward. So we'll kind of put that together as a package with the idea of moving toward the June meeting for other types of thoughts. So, I don't see this by any means taking as long as the master plan did, but it is. I know everybody's just cringing at that thought, but I do think this is worth several attempts at getting some public input on.
Well, and two, the public art ordinance that ultimately comes out of this, that the DA writes, I think that's very important. I mean, you have to be a part of this process.
Yeah.
I agree.
We don't have to have a motion to take it to these other entities.
No.
Okay, is there any public comment at this point? I saw thumbs up. Public thumbs up. Next is action for adjournment.
I have a comment.
Oh, you do? Good.
Okay, so we are having our inaugural fundraising event out at the Stewart Indian School on May 21st, which is a Saturday before Memorial Day weekend. I have a couple of things here that I'll circulate. Unfortunately, so we don't have a website, so I can't tell you to go somewhere and check out our event. Right, so we have this email blast, this constant contact thing. So we're sending out these email blasts. If you would like to get a notice of this event, it's $60. And we still have tickets available. The governor confirmed on Friday he will be there. So the governor will be there, and Congressman Amodei will be there, and Mr. Mayor will be there. So good dignitaries, so you can hobnob with the head honchos. And so give me your email after the meeting if you want, and I'll make sure that you get a notice if you're not on our email list already. Okay, super. Thank you. That's all. All motion to adjourn.